Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the incredibly complex, often controversial, but honestly absolutely fascinating worldview of Christopher Langan. Known for having one of the highest recorded IQs in the world, Langan's intellectual framework is, well, it's anything but conventional. We're going to be exploring everything from his highly abstract theories on quantum physics and the fundamental nature of reality, all the way down to his stinging critiques of modern globalism and technocracy. Whether you find his ideas profound or perplexing, his blueprint for understanding the universe definitely demands a closer look.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with Langan's unconventional genius, unpack his grand theory of everything, explore metacausation and free will, look into his literal take on the nature of evil, break down his views on globalism and technocracy, and finally look at how he thinks we should resist the system. So let's jump right in.
All right, part one. The unconventional genius, or blue-collar brilliance. To really wrap our heads around Langan's theories, we've got to understand the guy himself. I mean, this isn't an Ivy League professor we're talking about. He literally educated himself while working as a bouncer at bars in New York City, ranching and doing factory work. Like his quote shows, his drive was a relentless, fiercely independent search for objective truth, completely bypassing that traditional academic ladder. He would literally buy used textbooks at library sales and just read voraciously. And this solitary, intense pursuit, it deeply shaped his whole perspective, especially his profound distrust of elite institutions.
And this leads perfectly to his really unique take on intelligence itself. He argues that having a massive IQ, it's kind of just like having a really powerful zoom lens. Sure, it gives you incredible depth of focus for tiny specific details, but true intelligence requires a wide aperture. You need to be able to zoom out and see how all the big picture concepts actually connect across different disciplines. We've all met brilliant people who totally miss the forest for the trees, right? Well, Langan believes that's exactly where a lot of high IQ individuals fail. They get completely trapped in the weeds and just miss the broader context of reality.
Moving on to section 2, let's look at his theory of everything, the CTMU.
So, what exactly is the CTMU? It stands for the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the universe. And buckle up, because according to Langan, the universe isn't just a bunch of random physical stuff bouncing around in an empty void. Not at all. Instead, it's a conscious, self-referential entity. It's constantly generating and processing information about itself in this massive, endless feedback loop. He's not just doing math here. He's literally trying to decode the fundamental language of existence. He's positing that reality has the built-in capacity to understand and describe itself. Now, this completely flips the traditional concept of God on its head. Notice the really specific distinction he makes here. He outright rejects pantheism, the idea that God and the physical universe are exactly the same thing. Instead, he aligns with panentheism. He argues that, sure, the physical universe is housed within God, but God actually exists in a domain that is vastly larger and way more complex than just the physical reality that we humans can actually perceive.
Okay, I know that's super abstract, but to make it easier to grasp, Langan uses a pretty brilliant computer analogy. Think of the physical universe, everything you can see, touch, and measure, as just the computer's display screen. God, in this specific framework, is the ultimate underlying processing function that actually makes the reality work. Basically, God is the processor, giving the universe its identity, allowing reality to function, evolve, and change over time.
Which brings us to section 3, metacausation and free will.
Because Langan views reality as this self-processing entity, he totally redefines how cause and effect works. Take something as simple as intending to move a glass of water. Normally, we think of that as a straight line from the past to the future, right? But Langan argues for metacausation. It's this closed loop where the future state of that glass actually reaches back in time to influence your present action. The future point where you're going to place the glass already exists in a state of potential, and that future reality actively plays a role in shaping what you are physically doing right now. Crazy, right? All right, let's shift gears a bit for section 4, the nature of evil, angels, demons, and coherence. Based on his interviews, Langan holds some highly literal, very specific beliefs regarding good and evil. He creates this really stark, unconventional theological divide. He suggests that Lucifer is essentially an angel of light who walks the fence, basically exiled to handle Earth's imperfections and bring the light of reality down to us. Satan, on the other hand, represents pure incoherence. In Langan's view, Satan is literally too incoherent to function on his own, so he only operates by gaining coherence through human power structures, our hedonism, our greed.
And that idea of evil piggybacking on human greed leads us straight into Section 5, globalism and technocracy as the earthly battleground.
Langan takes those metaphysical concepts and applies them directly to modern political power. From his perspective, we are way past living in a standard republic. He argues the world is run by these unstoppable oligarchs who, and this is his phrasing, act like black holes gravitating all the money to themselves. He points to very specific modern mechanisms to back this up. Things like the World Economic Forum, the push toward digital currencies, mass surveillance tech, even universal basic income. He sees all of these as tools that elites use to erode national sovereignty and enforce a top-down technocratic global control. Now, this ties back into his core concept of telesis, which is the inherent intentionality or purpose of the universe. And to illustrate how we're losing this natural design, he uses a surprisingly everyday analogy. Light bulbs. Yeah, light bulbs. He actually prefers older incandescent bulbs, arguing that their warm light reflects a purposeful natural design. Modern LED bulbs? Energy efficient, sure, but he views them as purely artificial and completely lacking aesthetic beauty. To Langan, this isn't just about lighting. It represents a broader societal disease where our obsession with efficiency is stripping away natural beauty and divine purpose.
So what do we do about it? Section 6, resisting the system through local action. With such a massive, universe-spanning framework, you might expect Langan to propose some incredibly complex global solution. But his actual response to top-down control is surprisingly grounded. He explicitly says, do not try to fight fire with fire. Don't try to print a rival global currency to compete with the elites, for example. Instead, he insists on grassroots, nonviolent resistance starting right in your own backyard. He's talking about attending local city council meetings, actively demanding self-determination, finding like-minded allies in your community, and putting direct, nonviolent pressure on local politicians. Throughout all of this, whether he's talking about local politics or quantum physics, Langan constantly reminds us of our own limitations. He says we are basically like fish in a bowl, completely unaware of the vastness of the ocean that sits just beyond the glass. He argues that our strict, materialistic worldview leaves us dangerously oblivious to the massive conscious reality surrounding us every single day. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought based on Langan's highly complex framework. If our reality truly is a conscious, self-processing system driven by divine purpose, are you actively expanding your mind's aperture to see how the bigger picture connects? Or are you trapped by the limits of modern conditioning, just staring at the glass of the fishbowl? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.